Welcome to Burn the Ship. This is the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs or professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We talk to people that have walked the walk, talked the talk, been through all the things that we experience as small business owners, and come out the other side willing to share those experiences with us so that we can be better at our small business. So, thank you very much, Gabrielle, for joining us. Your time means a lot to me and our
Thanks for
audience as
having me.
well. So, thank you very much for joining us. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your story and tell us a little bit about your business as well?
Thank you again. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. Yeah, so a little bit about me. First and foremost, personally, so I'm from the New York City area, New Jersey, and I'm now out here in Boston. I've been here almost 8 years. So I'm an East Coast gal, loving it, wintertime.
Hmm.
So right now, I am doing my own fractional EA, that's executive assistant work, along with recruiting. And so, what that means is what I supply to newfound executives, that's my niche, newfound executives into the world of business is I've been a lifelong EA. So, I've been doing this for over 12 years now. I have background in finance, background in legal, background in hospitality, and a background in banking. And from that, what I came out with is, for the most part, I've always been working one on one or one on two with CEOs, founders, and board members of large institutions, mostly Fortune 5 to Fortune 500 companies. And I've always loved what I did. But there's nuances to what EAs do for very high net worth individuals. And through the complications and the excitements of that, I've decided to pull out from working solely for one or two people and provide fractional work to multiple companies, which you're seeing a lot of that nowadays. You see fractional CMOs, COOs in that, especially since the pandemic, you're seeing a lot of that. So I started my own agency, which provides fractional support to some of those executives that don't need those 40 to 60-hour weeks of side by side support. Some need 10 hours a week, some need 20 hours a month. Um, so I'm providing that along with my staff and also recruiting for those administrative professionals, anywhere from a receptionist all the way up to a chief of staff. And there's so many positions in between those two. You have administrative assistants, executive assistants, office managers, again, chief of staffs, that executives that are still hiring those full-time positions that they want, whether remote or in office. So I'm helping with recruiting that in a boutique kind of a service. So those are my two main services that I am offering. Um, and I found it to be, much more enlightening to myself than working one-on-one in a one office setting for one company.
So how do you develop your staff? Are your staff kind of what you see other places in that executive assistant role? Or are you finding virtual assistants from offshores? Are most of your people in the United States? Like, how do you develop those relationships?
Yeah. So let me start off real there. So the word virtual assistant to me, we don't use that. A lot of times you'll hear virtual assistants and they're referring to offshore. So nowadays, a lot of that's coming from the Philippines and Ecuador, and India as well. It's very cheap labor. If you see that advertised on websites such as Upwork and things of that sort, which are hourly sites, you'll see that for $5, $10 an hour. And most, not all, because I don't want to downplay, what anyone else is doing, is a lot of tactical work, such as scheduling meetings, maybe going through some email, maybe handling some travel. What my service is doing is a lot more lifelong EAs that have been doing this 10 to 20 plus years. So the EAs that I have working for me are a lot more strategical. Of course, they do tactical work as well. So these are admins that have been doing this a lot longer, that have a lot more experience, that can help an executive with a board meeting. with helping to align on agendas, who are thinking ahead and are anticipating certain things, that they're not just giving you a task and you're handing it back. This is someone that is rolling with something, that can think on their own, that can provide an outcome, a project manager, so to speak. So this is a much more in-depth position. This is an executive assistant that has been working for hedge funds, VC firms, large banking, that have been working with the CEO, like I said, 10, 20 years. So someone that has been making the kind of money that is not $10, $20 an hour. So this is a much premium service that we're doing. So none of these EAs have ever been called virtual assistants, even if they are remote, which again has been the trend in the last 4 or 5 years. So again, we call them fractional assistants when they are working those part-time kind of hours. And depending again on the clientele that we're getting, depending on how much support is needed, no one gets any more than 3 to 4 clients. That would be the max, because 1, you don't want to burn anybody out, and 2, you don't want to take away assistance from somebody else. So that would be the max if they're doing fractional work. Again, obviously, there are some people that are doing full-time work for somebody. So we never want to burn someone out. We never want to take away a resource from an exec to say, hey, we know things come up at weird hours. Someone's traveling, someone's in a different time zone, something comes up on a weekend, where they can assist when needed. And I source these people, one, from, I've worked in many companies over the years. I worked with many assistants, people that I've stayed in touch with. I vet them extremely well to make sure that they can do the jobs that we're hiring them for. I would never send somebody out that I haven't, one, tested or worked with myself to make sure that they can do this job to the caliber that I expect, that I would want them to work for me as my assistant should I need that. Now, there are, let's say, expectations set. Different industries expect different calibers of EAs. Like I said, I've gotten calls from people that just want those tactical EAs. Sure, I can find you one. But the bulk of my clientele and the bulk of the people that I'm sending out are for those more high-end kind of needs that we are. So there are misconceptions in this industry of what an executive assistant is. You'll see, you go on Facebook, there are so many mom groups that are looking for side hustles. They're like, be an EA, you can do this. What I classify as an EA might be different than what you classify as an EA. Sure, an EA could set meetings and check your inbox, but there's so many different calibers of what an EA is. You can go on LinkedIn and see a full-time EA for $50,000, and you can go online on LinkedIn and see a full-time EA for $200,000. And those are very varied salaries, and you're going to see those job descriptions as they're doing very different things. And this industry is coming up in what they're doing, and we're starting to see trends in making those job descriptions and titles a lot more specific, so it's more understanding of what the client is looking for, and for the person who's applying to know exactly that they're applying for the right position and the right level of position.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted you to make that distinction for the audience, because I see a very a spectrum of those people for sure, right? And early on, like, we work with a bunch of law clients, because lawyers that use trust have to take payments in a very specific way, and fees have to come from one place and payments have to go another place. It's very specific how that roadmap of those payments go. So we work closely with some very proficient legal secretaries to make some of those things
Yeah, and the legal
function.
industry is totally different too, because a lot of legal
Oh yeah,
secretaries have some paralegal experience, some don't, some do. Some legal firms, they have just legal secretaries and paralegals. Some expect you to kind of cross those lines. So it's very convoluted, and the industry is getting a bit better. We're still behind than in most other, but it is starting to get a bit clearer and getting those kind of levels established better.
sure. And I'm sure you guys are fighting some of that battle as well, to educate people that come on board with you guys and explain exactly what the the level of service and the impact is going to be dependent on the needs that you have within your own business. So I hope
Of
that
course.
this conversation adds some clarity to that to people that are wondering, should something like a fractional EA be a good fit for your business? Specific to you, with your background in the space, and then going through the whole process of developing this team, bringing on people that can bring value to the type of people that you're entertaining as clients, what's kind of been your superpower? Has it been, the ability to train people that are coming on the team? Is it the ability to build the team? Or are you great at communicating with your clients? Should there ever be communication shortcomings? What's really kind of been the key to your success and ability to grow in the space?
I think it's my experience as being an EA. What made me successful in that was one, being organized and my attention to detail, but it was anticipating. Being able to anticipate my execs' needs and what was going on is I've been able to take that and do that with my company. So it's been able to anticipate clients' needs, what's going on, and also anticipating employees' needs and what's going on. So like you mentioned, training. I don't want to say there's not training, right? The EAs that I have all been doing this very long. They know how to do an EA job. Obviously, every job is specific to the exec, what they need. And that onboarding, for the most part, happens with the exec and that company and that EA, because it needs to be specific to the company and how that exec works personally to them. And there's definitely a personality match there. For me, I have very strong gut feelings. It's just in something built within me. Even when I would interview for jobs, I would say, and I always used to make a joke, oh, it's kind of like speed dating when you interview for an EA job, right? I know I can do this job. That's fine. But can I work with this exec, right? It's a very big thing about a personality mesh. If you guys can't work together, and that has to be organic, there's no way the job will go forward. I can do the job 100% and he'll be great with my work. But if we just can't communicate well, if our personalities don't work right, if we do things differently, I get from A to B in a straight line, but he gets from A to B in a zigzag line, and he just doesn't like the way I do it, it won't work. So I've always been able to read red flags and just that this isn't going to work out, even though the job is great. So when I'm speaking with clients, I'm able to see, oh, you're not going to like Mary Sue. She's going to be great for this job, but I can just tell the way she works and the way you're speaking and the stuff you have going on in your personal life isn't going to work for her. So I'm able to match people up pretty well. And again, I'm able to also speak with those EAs, and I can tell for the ones that I haven't worked with personally, the ones that I'm vetting, it's very easy, especially knowing the job. I wouldn't trust anyone else to interview them. I can tell within the first 10 minutes of speaking to someone if they know this job. I'm not giving them scenarios. I'm not doing this. But the way that I ask questions, I can tell from their answers, excuse my language, if they're BSing. Sure. I can tell right off the bat. And then based on how they're answering those and their personality and the way they're interacting with me, how they're going to mesh well with certain executives. So that's been one of the biggest pluses for me in matching them. Because again, I can, if you call me and you say me yay, I can say, okay, great, here's 5 people. But I really need to know your personality. Be like, well, of those 5 people, you're only going to like one of them. Because I'm interviewing for the skill set, you're interviewing for the personality set. And that's where I come off right away. One of my first discovery calls with a client is, I want to know how you work. I want to know your dislikes, your likes, your home life, your this. Are you going to micromanage? Are you going to be over them? Do you want to touch base every day? Do you want to touch base once a month? You never want to talk to them. You just want to know if things are getting done. Some people need that interaction a lot. Some people don't want to care. So that's been my biggest plus of being able to grow the company and grow the clientele, to know I'm not getting a call a month later and being like, I need you to switch my EA. Don't like her. Don't like him. So I haven't been getting those calls, which is great.
What's been difficult in the growing process of your business?
So what I'm doing, the most difficult part right now is personally, I'm not a sales or marketing person, and it's getting more clientele. Someone, in my opinion, they're not Googling, where do I find an EA? Right? So like I have a website, I have my LinkedIn, but that's not how I'm getting clients. For me, it's word of mouth, and it's they're talking to, other CEOs or other, and be like, hey, where'd you find your EA? Where can I get one? Does your EA know any other great EAs? So that's how I'm getting people right now. And so that's been the difficulty. It's all about networking. It's all about talking to people at that level, the kind of execs that I'm looking for, the kind of companies that I'm looking for, whether I know they're not looking, but talking to them and saying, hey, do you have any peers? Do you have any colleagues that you know that can use my service? And that's where I'm finding the struggle right now, is how to grow and scale that way. I've been going to conferences and things of that sort, of the kind of industries that I want to be in, and talking with, old execs and meeting up with them again and saying, hey, I know you're happy with what you're doing now, but is there anyone you can refer me to? You know firsthand what I can do. I worked with you for 4 or 5 years. And, that's how I've been getting a lot of my calls now, and the clients that I've been working with. I could say over the last year, of all the new clients, I think only 3 of them have been organic, that have found me randomly. Everyone else has been through someone else. So right now, that's my struggle of how I keep getting more clients that way.
Well, I think that it's going to, like, as you continue down the path, I think it's gonna kind of be one of your strengths, because I think that with traditional sales and marketing in your industry, you may lump yourself in with some of those businesses that represent themselves one way, but the actual deliverable, the service is very different, right?
Mhm.
Like you may find yourself lumped into that virtual assistant bucket with traditional marketing, whereas that time may be better spent pouring into your network of existing the correct clientele with the correct peers that can actually send you the people that you have a right fit for. So I think it's going to end up saving you a lot of headache in the long run, whereas you continue to grow your network, because let's be honest, there's no shortage of busy executives in your area, right?
Oh, yeah, no, for
It's
sure.
just like schools of fish. It's just like you have to find that one very specific area where your level of services matches their level of intensity in the way that they approach their industry, and that you guys will be a good match for each other. So I think it's going to end up working out in the long run. And I think that us as entrepreneurs, as small business people, and more than anything, as humans that take some responsibility for providing opportunities for people that are in our network and that are working for us and delivering that service for people and people that we trust, we take some responsibility for their well-being. Um,
Mhm.
and so I think that lends us to the need to be in a hurry, right? Or the need to force the pace that will get us where we want to go, when in reality it's like me. I've used this analogy before, but when I went into the 6th grade, I was like almost 6 feet tall, right? It was like everyone wants to talk to me about being an athlete, or like I was the least coordinated kid ever at that. My body had grown so fast in a span of like 18 months that I just needed to be stronger, and I needed to grow at the right speed for a while before I could be good at anything.
Mhm.
And I think that sometimes, depending on your industry and depending on the type of service that you provide to your clients, that sometimes there is a pace that you need to grow at to still protect who you are and what you
Mhm.
stand for down the road. So I think that it's going to end up being a strength for you, that
Oh,
word of mouth and traditional sales and marketing are allowing you to grow at a pace that aligns with who you are as a person and the service that you provide to people that choose to be your client. So I can applaud you for that. for doing things differently so that you don't find yourself lumped in the wrong bucket with people that are literally almost in a completely different industry than you, right?
Yeah.
That virtual assistant world and that offshore virtual assistant inbox checker versus what you do is so there's so much space in between those two things that
Oh, absolutely.
traditional sales and marketing may be only moving you towards somewhere in the middle when you want to be on that
Yeah.
premier educated experience side of the service that you provide.
You know what? I 1000% agree with that. One, in my first year, I didn't want to grow too fast because one, I didn't want to take on too much where then my service wouldn't be the caliber and what I want to give. So, right, you don't want to disappoint any clients in that end. And I didn't want to, some people would say, well, just take a client so you have a client and so you make money. And yes and no, right? I didn't want someone that would reach out that wanted this VA type of, assistant and then would obviously want to pay those rates and say, no, I know what my value is. I know what my EA's values are. I'm not just going to, because I need clients in the beginning, right, to start generating. I'm not just going to take some clients that want this $20 an hour EA just to have clients to say, hey, look, I'm starting to get clients. This is great because I don't want to be lumped in with that. I know what we are. I know what our value is. I know what I'm trying to project. This is us. We're not the offshore VAs. I don't want that, even if people are calling me and saying, well, this is what we can give you. This is what we can pay. No. And that was a big struggle when I was done with my website and I put rates on there and people were, why are you putting rates on? Don't put rates. Let people call you and discuss. And I was like, no, because people are calling me. And then when we get to the rates discussion, they're trying to go off of what they're seeing for VAs. And I'm nowhere near those. If they look me up online, they look at my LinkedIn, whatever, they then go to my website and they see my rates. If they're like, oh, this was not what I was thinking, then don't call me. There's some negotiation somewhere, but if you're way off from where I'm at, then you're not the kind of clientele that I want. There's a certain caliber of what we're trying to produce here. And if you're looking for something else, then don't call me. If we're somewhere in your ballpark, then give me a call. And so I've decided to keep my rates up. And that's why I'm there. I was having so many calls where people are trying to lowball because they're looking for a different service. That's not the service that I'm providing. And I wanted to make sure to keep that separate. And I got a lot of heat from people when, I started doing some marketing groups and something to say, hey, what do you think of my logo? What do you think of my colors? And I was doing focus groups. And a lot of them said, take your rates down. And I'm very firm that I want to keep them up because I don't want to waste my time and I don't want to waste your time. You're looking for something specific. That's what you want. You call those companies. Otherwise, then you call here. And so I wanted to make sure that was a distinction with what my company's offering and what other companies are offering.
Yeah, absolutely. And it completely aligns with how the right client for you buys. It aligns exactly with how the person that you are trying to reach and make an impact on seeks out this service and builds that relationship and buys. So I applaud you for that. I've seen both sides of that, and I think some mixture of those two things is probably the right thing for 95% of industries. But I think you're right. When you provide a premier service, you show people what it costs. Everyone else does. Louis Vuitton doesn't apologize for showing you that this purse costs $10,000 because you understand who they are and what their brand is and what it represents, and you knew the type of check that you were cashing to put yourself in that conversation. So I think it's the right thing. What's next for you? How does your journey continue for you here? Is it adding more experienced EAs? Are you continuing to push into 2025 with client list at the top of your mind? Like what are your goals moving into 2025 and how can we support you?
Yeah, so obviously I'm continuing where I'm at now and hoping to grow my clientele list along with, I have a list of other EAs that want to join me, but I need more clientele to help them there. So it's growing my clientele list. And I'm also, starting to do, I'm going to back out of. So right now, I'm actually on that EA list as well. I'm helping certain clients as well as I started. I want to back out of the day to day and doing that to give some more EAs some more work. And with that, I'm adding on some other services for EAs to help them scale what they do. So some EA coaching along with that, resume coaching for those people, and adding services of that like. I've been doing a lot of, excuse me, compensation negotiations and things of that sort, solely and only for administrative professionals, as I'm really advocating for the administrative professional group, because notoriously and historically it's been a profession that isn't always noticed, isn't always thanked, is underpaid. And I want to make sure that they get their feet out. You know, I've been sitting on advisory boards now. I just started, it's been, well, almost 2 years now with the admin awards, where it's the only group out there where we are recognizing admin professionals for all that they do, and winning awards in amazing categories, really supporting them, where execs are getting on board and really showing and supporting their admins, which has never been seen before, right? You get the thank you get the, admin week, and you get some flowers, but this is really, the behind the scenes people that are doing everything to make those companies run. Some of these CEOs wouldn't be where they're at without their right hands. So I've been really advocating for the EA profession for these past few years, and sitting on different boards and really trying to get them out there. So actually right now, free of charge, I have been, any EAs that have been reaching out to me, I've been helping them in any ways that I can, with resume writing, with negotiations, and with coaching. But that will be a service that I will be adding on in the coming year, along, with some other professionals that I've been working with, that we're going to team up to help them progress their careers.
Well, I'm excited for you. Just my perspective for the people listening. There are some things in your business that you really don't want to shortchange, that you don't want to look for the least expensive option. And more than likely, if you are a busy enough assistant, to be kicking around the idea of bringing on a seasoned professional as an executive assistant, you're probably very, very busy because you're doing something in your business correctly. So don't hinder your forward progress by shortchanging yourself on the people that you bring on your team to support you. You guys have heard me rant and rave about the people behind the scenes in my office that make my life very, very easy. And I can't thank the resources that I have enough for those relationships that I have, that literally make it possible for me to do my job effectively on a day-to-day basis. Kick around those same ideas in your brain before you decide what this is worth committing to you as you continue to grow your business over X period of time. Thank you very much, Gabrielle, for joining us. I think that your experience is very unique, and I would love to be a fly on the wall at some of those people that you have helped literally make it possible for them to do their job effectively, because I'm sure there's a ton of there's a ton of experience to aggregate, and I look forward to seeing where your business progresses as you continue to make more of those relationships with people who are excellent at what they do, which is an absolute reflection of how well that you guys do what you do. If there's anything that we can do to support you further, whether it's my company or Burn the Ship or whatever that is, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. But I appreciate your time and I appreciate your message. I really do look forward to seeing where your business goes. So before we go, please tell everyone exactly how to find you, how to inquire about your service if they want to buy something from you. Where do they go and what are those steps, so that we make sure everyone has the ability to come buy from you should they see that you're a good fit for their company?
Of course. So it's kind of long, so hopefully we can write it out. My website
We'll
is
put it all in the description as well for anyone listening.
Yeah, the company is the Waxenberg Agency. So just www.thewaxenbergagency.com, and that's where you can see my services, my pricing, and on there is all my contact info, email, phone number. And you can also reach me on LinkedIn, Gabrielle Waxenberg, and that takes you to my company page and also my website. So you can get everything from LinkedIn, and all my contact info is there. Nothing's hidden. Even if we're not connected, you can message me and get my contact info.
I can vouch for that. It is easy to find. So
that's how we got connected. So
that
yes,
is
and
correct.
I appreciate this forum. I think it's great. I love what you guys are doing, and I thank you for having me as a guest.
Yeah, anytime. All right, until next time, burn the ship.